Hello friends, welcome to this month's debt market update. Hope you all are safe and doing well. The month of September witnessed the bond yield rising anywhere between 5 to 25 basis points across the yield curve, with short end of the yield curve rising faster than the long end. This was led by the build-up of expectation of faster than expected normalization of current easy monetary policy on account of sharp rise in global bond yields and energy prices in the second half of the month, particularly in the backdrop of continuous improvement in the economic activity around the country, as reflected in continuous drop in COVID infections, rising pace of vaccination, continuous improvement in high frequency growth indicators, mobility across the country, and import-export data. The 10-year government benchmark security closed the month at 6.22%, 1 basis point higher than the month of August. Similarly, the 1 to 4 year segment of the interest rate curve saw an yield uptick of anywhere between 15 to 25 basis point, whereas the 5 to 9 year segment of the interest rate curve saw an uptick of 5 to 7 basis point. Similarly, the banking system liquidity continued to improve over the last month, and the average liquidity during the month was 7.85 trillion compared to 7.42 trillion of the month of August. On the forex front, the rupee closed 1.7% weaker compared to the US dollar during the month, whereas the forex reserve rose by $5 billion and closed at 638 billion at the month end. In terms of macroeconomic data released during the month, the index of industrial production reflected a growth of 11.5% on a year-on-year basis for the month of July compared to a growth of 13.6% seen in the month of June. This moderation in growth was largely on account of unfavorable base of last year as well as the contraction in the consumer non-durables. In fact, the consumer non-durables was the only subsegment of the index which degrew both on a year-on-year basis as well as on a month-on-month basis. All other segments of the industrial production index grew both on a year-on-year basis as well as on a month-on-month basis, which basically reflects that the softness was largely on account of the base effect, as all the sub-segment except the consumer non-durables showed the sign of expansion in the industrial activity. The moderation in the consumer non-durables seems to be caused by the unequal growth, particularly the lower growth seen in the informal sector of the economy, which has led to this has led to this moderation in the consumer non-durables. However, the other economic indicators like purchase managers index data, both for services as well as manufacturing sector, remain in the expansion zone, while the manufacturing PMI printed at 53.7, the services sector PMI printed at 55.7. Other economic data like tax collections, the GST collections for the month of September came at 1.17 lakh crore compared to 1.12 lakh crore seen in the last month. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, if you look at the GST collections for the first quarter of the current financial year were at 1.1 lakh crore per month on an average, whereas the similar data for the second quarter is at 1.15 lakh crore for the which reflects close to 5% growth. Similarly, if you look at direct tax collections, direct tax collections have been robust. The individual income tax collections have shown 20% growth over the FY 2020, which was a non-pandemic impacted year. Similarly, the corporate tax collections have shown 50% growth over FY 2020. In terms of inflation, the consumer price inflation dropped to 5.3% from 5.6% seen in the previous month. The drop in the inflation was largely contributed by the favorable base effect of last year and drop in food price inflation. The food price inflation dropped to 3.8% from 4.46% seen in the previous month. However, the core CPI inflation remained unchanged at 5.4%. In fact, if we look at the core CPI inflation ex gold, it rose from 5.7% to 6%, which could be a sign of worry if it remains persistent at these levels. RBI, in its fourth bi-monthly policy concluded on October 8, decided to keep the policy rates unchanged and retained its accommodative stance. This policy outcome was largely in line with the market expectation. The important announcements in the policy were to increase the amount of liquidity absorption via VRRR auctions from 4 lakh crore to 6 lakh crore. By this, the increase of 2 lakh crore will be done in a calibrated manner of increase of 50,000 crore each fortnight till December 6. The other major announcement was the cessation of bond buying under the Government Securities Acquisition Program. In terms of growth and inflation outlook, RBI retained its growth outlook for the current financial year at 9.5%, while marginally reducing the inflation projection to 5.3% from 5.7% projected in the previous policy. Overall, the policy was well balanced as RBI balanced the increase in VRR and cessation of bond buying under Government Security Acquisition Program by reducing the inflation projection and keeping the policy commentary a little dovish than what market was expecting. Overall, if we look at globally, as the current pandemic turns into the endemic phase, central banks have been grappling with the issue of timing and pace of unwinding the current extraordinary accommodation provided in the wake of COVID-19, as they do not want to risk the recovery at the initial phase. Recently, US Fed, in its recently concluded meeting, decided to maintain the status quo on the policy rates as well as on the QE program. However, it strongly indicated that all the conditions for tapering have been met and they can start the tapering as soon as in the next meeting in November itself. However, they reiterated that this tapering should not be construed as liftoff for the rates. Similarly, in Eurozone, ECB decided to maintain the status quo on the policy rates while marginally reducing the bond purchase under its QE program. However, like Fed, it also reiterated that by no means this should be construed as tapering. In a nutshell, if you look at the global debate on the policy has gradually shifted the direction of normalization, with almost all major central banks have either started reducing the quantitative easing or on the verge of doing so, with a few looking to tighten the policy rates as well. Emerging markets are in general no exception to this, and so far 12 emerging market central banks have risen the policy rates. However, there are still many central banks looking to unwind the accommodative stance gradually and support the growth, as in these countries there is limited fiscal room to support the growth. The policy seems to be in order for these countries. However, this is fought with two immediate risks apart from the risk from resurgence of COVID-19. The first one being the spillover effect of impending taper by the Fed, and the other one being the surge in the inflation. The global preferred strategy to counter the first issue is to accumulate the forex buffer and allow the currency to be market determined. However, the second issue of inflation is difficult to deal with, as so far the understanding of the current inflation is that it is caused by a few items and is transitory in nature. However, we have seen that the productivity in emerging economies do not rise in proportion to the demand and can cause inflation when there is a sudden rise in the demand. Also, we have seen that in the recent weeks that acute shortage of key energy commodity has led to sharp rise in the commodity prices. This, if persisted for long, can render this transitory theory less sturdy. Accordingly, we believe that the current economic recovery, if not hindered by another resurgent wave of COVID-19 or any external shock, should warrant a reset in the current extraordinary accommodative monetary policy sooner than later. Further, if the current high global commodity prices and sticky core persist, this could force RBI's hand for a quicker normalization of monetary policy. However, the current approach of RBI for a gradual and non-disrupted normalization of monetary policy, along with any prospect of inclusion in the global bond indices, should contain any big blowout on the yield, particularly at a time when the fiscal balances are comfortable. Coming to the most important question of what investors should do. In line with the current market view and current steepness of the interest rate curve, we suggest that investors should look to match their investment horizon with the duration of the portfolio and look for the products offering lower inherent risk by offering passive strategies such as roll down or active duration management on the lower spectrum of the duration. Accordingly, investors having investment horizon up to 3 months can look to invest in liquid or ultra short term category of funds, and investors having investment horizon more than 3 months up to 1 year can look to invest products like money market fund or low duration, whereas the investors with investment horizon of more than 1 year can look to invest in products like short term bond fund, banking and PSU fund, or corporate bond fund. With this, we'll conclude this session. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay invested.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.